Imagine a girl who has everything, yet feels like she has nothing. A billionaire heiress who trades her Chanel bags for a dishwasher's apron, all in the desperate search for something money can't buy, real love. You probably think her life is a fairy tale, but you're about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous monsters aren't in castles, but in the classroom. This is the story of a hidden identity, a shocking betrayal, and a love so powerful it commands the skies. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your city. Hey, there goes Sunny again, Carla whispered, her voice a venomous little dart. She nudged her friend, T, as they watched the girl in the simple, uniform-like dress walk briskly through the grand front gates of Westgate University. Ugh, you're right. My God. Can't she at least afford a bus ticket, T chimed in mockingly, covering her nose dramatically as if catching a bad smell. The three girls, Carla, T, and Raya, were a self-appointed trinity of campus royalty, daughters of wealthy families. They moved through life on a cloud of privilege, their idea of hardship being a slow internet connection. They wore luxury brands to their 9 a.m. lectures and considered public transport a relic of a world they were glad not to inhabit. Then there was Sunny. She was a ghost in the opulent hallways of Westgate, a brilliant student who consistently topped every class, yet remained stubbornly, almost defiantly, invisible. She had few friends, and if it weren't for her intellect, an intellect they shamelessly exploited for thesis papers and group projects, Carla and her clique would never have bothered with her. Carla, just let it go. At least we got that thesis outline she gave us. Graduation's next week anyway, Raya said nonchalantly, applying a fresh coat of lip tint. After graduation, good luck to her. She better not get anywhere near our social circles. Can you believe she actually works nights? Like, gross. T sneered, flipping her perfectly highlighted hair. Sunny walked down the hallway, her old but clean backpack slung over one shoulder, her worn sneakers silent on the polished floors. Unlike Carla and her friends, she didn't care for flashy clothes or makeup. Her beauty was of a quieter, more profound kind, a natural grace in her posture, a depth in her dark eyes that seemed to hold stories no one had bothered to ask about. She didn't look poor, but you couldn't quite place where she came from. As Sunny reached her classroom, Professor Rivera, the head of the business faculty, smiled warmly at her. "Good morning, Miss Shepherd." "Good morning, Professor." Sunny replied politely, her voice calm and respectful. Heads turned, whispers followed her to her seat at the back of the room, near the window. "Did you see that she's close with Rivera? I bet she's doing him some kind of favor." "That's probably why she's always topping the class," a student muttered. Sunny ignored them all, unbothered. She was used to being the subject of speculation. Later that day, in the campus cafe, the trio was dissecting Sunny's existence over iced lattes. "She's so gross," T said, wrinkling her nose. "She always smells like fried oil. I mean, who works a night shift and then shows up to class like nothing's wrong? And she has the nerve to sit with us and order just an iced tea," Raya added with an eye roll. "I don't even know if she has the money or if she's just mooching off our pity." "Guys, calm down," Carla said, a cruel, strategic smile playing on her lips. "After graduation, she's done. We used her brain, and we won." That's what matters. What Sunny didn't know was that the very people she considered her closest friends, the only ones she studied with and shared cautious snippets of her life with, were the architects of her social isolation. What Carla and her friends didn't know was that the poor dishwasher girl they so gleefully mocked was actually Sunny Shepherd, the sole heiress to the Shepherd Motors fortune, a multi-billion-dollar luxury car empire. And what no one on that entire campus knew was that for the past 2 years, Sunny had been secretly married to Captain Jason Mulder, a decorated Air Force pilot currently deployed on a high-risk mission overseas. Her quiet life wasn't a sign of poverty. It was a shield, a self-imposed exile from a world of wealth she found suffocating, and a way to stay grounded while she waited for her husband to come home. The 4-year journey at Westgate was almost over, a long, patient game of humility and strength. But the final, most painful test was just about to begin. The final week before graduation was a strange, surreal limbo for Sunny. She continued to attend the final classes and rehearsals, moving through the university halls like a ghost with a secret. Carla, T, and Raya, emboldened by what they saw as her silent submission, escalated their torment. Their whispers became louder, their smirks more pronounced. They would accidentally bump into her in the cafeteria, knocking a book from her hand, or make loud comments about irresponsible girls getting themselves in trouble whenever she passed. Sunny endured it all with an unnerving calm. She didn't react. She didn't retaliate. She simply observed, her quiet gaze taking in every detail of their cruelty. What they mistook for weakness was, in fact, the coiled stillness of a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her silence was not surrender. It was strategy. Inside, she was counting down the hours, replaying Jason's promise in her mind. I'm coming home. Meanwhile, Jason was moving heaven and earth. As a high-ranking pilot in a special operations wing, taking personal leave on short notice was nearly impossible. But Jason was not just any pilot. He was a Mulder, a family with a long, quiet history of service and influence. He made calls, pulled strings, and cashed in favors he had accumulated over a decade of distinguished service. He explained the situation to his commanding officer, a man who respected him deeply. It's my wife, sir. She's graduating, and she's in trouble. He didn't need to say more. The leave was approved. His plan was audacious. He wasn't just going to show up. He was going to make an entrance so spectacular, so undeniable, that it would permanently silence every whisper and erase every doubt. He contacted his father-in-law, the formidable Samuel Shepherd. They're humiliating her. Sir, Jason said over an encrypted line. They think she's poor and alone. There was a dangerous silence on the other end. Then, Samuel's voice, a low, rumbling growl, came through. Tell me what you need, son. Together, they planned the operation with the precision of a military strike. Samuel handled the logistics on the ground, arranging for the car and the surprise guest. Jason handled the air. He would be flying in not on a commercial flight, but piloting a military-grade helicopter himself, a privilege granted for official transport. Back at Westgate, the campus was buzzing with graduation fever. Sunny saw Carla and her friends preening in their gowns, taking endless selfies, their laughter echoing with a brittle, self-congratulatory tone. They had already posted on social media, tagging luxury brands, their captions filled with hashtags like #GraduationGlowUp and #Elite. They had even made a cruel, veiled post on a campus gossip forum, wonder if our favorite charity case will show up for her diploma. Or if she's already on maternity leave. LOL. Sunny saw the post. She felt the familiar sting, but it was distant now, like the memory of a healed wound. She closed the app and sent a simple text to Jason, "See you soon." His reply was instantaneous. "The Eagle is preparing for flight." She smiled, a real, genuine smile. The final rehearsal took place the day before graduation. Sunny walked across the stage, her movements graceful and composed. The dean of the university, a woman who had always admired Sunny's brilliance, stopped her as she came down the steps. "Sunny, my dear," she said, her voice warm. "I've heard some of the unpleasant rumors. Please know that the faculty's respect for you is unwavering. Your academic record is one of the finest this university has ever seen. Thank you, Dean." Sunny replied, her voice filled with a quiet gratitude. "It means a lot to hear you say that." Carla, watching from a few feet away, rolled her eyes. "Teacher's pet?" she muttered to T, just loud enough for Sunny to hear. Sunny didn't turn. She didn't flinch. She simply walked away, her head held high. The final pieces were in place. The stage was set. Tomorrow, the curtain would rise on a drama that Westgate University would never forget. Tomorrow, they would all learn who Sunny Shepard Mulder really was. Graduation day dawned bright and painfully clear. The university lawn was a sea of black gowns and hopeful faces. Parents, dressed in their Sunday best, jockeyed for position, their phone cameras held high. For most, it was a day of pure celebration. The culmination of 4 years of hard work. For Sunny, it was the battlefield. She sat in the front row, a place of honor reserved for the magna cum laude graduates. Her name, Sunny Shepard, printed in elegant script in the program. Her heart was a steady, rhythmic drum. She could feel the stares of Carla, T, and Raya from a few rows back. Their presence a toxic hum in the celebratory air. She knew they wouldn't be able to resist one final, public act of cruelty. She was counting on it. The ceremony began. Names were called. Diplomas were awarded. The speeches were long and predictable. Sunny sat through it all, her hands resting calmly on her slightly rounded belly, a silent promise to the new life within her. Finally, the moment came. The dean stepped to the podium. And now, it is my distinct honor to present the magna cum laude address. This year's speaker is a student of exceptional intellect and unwavering resilience. Please join me in welcoming Miss Sunny Shepard. A wave of polite applause rippled through the crowd. Sunny stood up, smoothed down her gown, and walked towards the stage. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her. As she took her place at the podium and looked out at the sea of faces, a voice, sharp and mocking, cut through the air from the student section. "She's pregnant. How'd she even graduate with honors?" It was T's voice. A nervous titter went through the crowd. Sunny's eyes found her in the crowd, a smug look on her face. Before a university official could intervene, another voice shouted, this time Carla's. "Yeah, who's the baby daddy?" "Sunny, did he ditch you already?" The whispers erupted into open laughter. Some students pulled out their phones, gleefully recording the unfolding humiliation. Sunny froze at the podium, the microphone in her hand feeling like a block of ice. Her face went pale. The carefully constructed calm she had maintained for weeks was beginning to crack. This was worse than she had imagined. The public shaming, the laughter, the pointing fingers. It was a nightmare. A professor started to move towards the students, his face a mask of fury. But it was too late. The damage was done. Sunny stood there, exposed and alone, the cruel laughter washing over her. Her eyes filled with tears, blurring the faces in the crowd. She wanted to run, to disappear. And then she heard it. A low, deep thrumming sound from the distance, growing steadily louder. It wasn't a car engine. It was something bigger, more powerful. Heads began to turn, looking up at the sky, confused. The laughter faltered. The thrumming grew into a deafening roar. Suddenly, it appeared over the treetops, a sleek, black military helicopter, descending with terrifying speed and precision towards the open field adjacent to the graduation ceremony. It was not a civilian aircraft. The United States Air Force insignia was emblazoned on its side. Dust and grass whipped into the air as the helicopter landed, its powerful blades creating a whirlwind that sent programs and graduation caps flying. The crowd was in a stunned, terrified silence. Professors stood up. Security guards ran towards the field, unsure of what to do. The dean clutched her chest in shock. The helicopter's side door slid open, and out stepped Captain Jason Mulder. He was in full dress uniform, his chest adorned with medals, his aviator sunglasses reflecting the shocked faces of the crowd. He moved with the calm, unhurried confidence of a man who commanded the skies. He walked directly from the helicopter, across the field, and straight towards the graduation stage. No one stopped him. No one dared. He took the stage steps in 2 long strides, walked directly to the podium where Sunny stood trembling, and stopped in front of her. He gently took the microphone from her hand. Then, he removed his sunglasses, and his eyes, filled with a love so fierce it was almost a physical force, found hers. He leaned in and kissed her, a long, tender kiss in front of the entire, utterly silent university. The only sound was the clicking of 100 phone cameras. When he pulled away, he kept one arm wrapped protectively around her waist and turned to face the crowd. "My name," he said, his voice deep and amplified, ringing with an authority that demanded absolute attention, "is Captain Jason Mulder. And this," he said, pulling Sunny closer, "is my wife." The silence that followed Jason's declaration was so absolute it felt like the world had stopped breathing. The jeers and laughter from moments before were replaced by a collective, stunned gasp. Students who had been recording Sunny's humiliation now turned their phones towards the stage, their expressions a mixture of awe, confusion, and a dawning, delicious sense of shock. Carla, T, and Raya sat frozen in their seats, their smug smiles having melted into masks of pale, slack-jawed disbelief. This was not part of their plan. A military helicopter. A husband who looked like he'd walked off a movie set. It was impossible. Jason's arm remained firmly around Sunny's waist, a silent, unshakable anchor. He looked out at the sea of faces, his gaze sweeping over the crowd until it landed, with pinpoint accuracy, on the trio of girls who had orchestrated his wife's pain. His eyes, now devoid of sunglasses, were cold and hard as steel. "I understand," he continued, his voice calm but laced with an icy fury, that some of you have been amusing yourselves at my wife's expense. You've questioned her character. You've mocked her circumstances. You've spread vicious, disgusting lies. Every word was a hammer blow. The students who had participated in the jeering now shrank in their seats, avoiding his gaze. "Let me be clear," Jason said, his voice dropping to a dangerous, resonant low. "Sunny has endured more in the last 4 years than any of you could possibly imagine. And she has done so with a grace and dignity you will clearly never understand." He then turned his head slightly, his gaze still locked on Carla and her friends. "She is not poor. She is not alone, and she is certainly not a loser." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "She is a magna cum laude graduate of this university, a brilliant mind, and the strongest person I have ever known. The fact that she chooses to work a night shift to understand the value of hard work, something you three clearly know nothing about, is a testament to her character, not a reason for your pathetic mockery." The shame in the auditorium was a palpable, suffocating thing. But the spectacle was not yet over. Another figure began to walk towards the stage from the VIP seating area. He was an older man, impeccably dressed in a bespoke suit, his silver hair glinting in the sun. He moved with an air of quiet, immense power that made even the university's dean take an involuntary step back. The crowd murmured. They recognized him. It was Samuel Shepard. The Samuel Shepard. The reclusive billionaire founder of Shepard Motors. He climbed the stage, nodded once to Jason, and then walked to his daughter. He gently took her hand, kissing her on the forehead, before turning to face the microphone. "For those of you who don't know me," he said, his voice a calm, deep baritone that needed no amplification. "My name is Samuel Shepard, and this incredible young woman," he said, his voice swelling with a pride so fierce it was almost a physical force, "is my daughter." If the helicopter had caused a shockwave, this was a nuclear explosion. The truth, in all its devastating, glorious power, had finally been revealed. The poor dishwasher girl was the heiress to one of the largest fortunes in the country. The girl they had used and discarded was the daughter of the man whose cars they dreamed of one day owning. Sunny, standing between her husband and her father, finally let the tears fall. But they were not tears of pain or humiliation. They were tears of pure, unadulterated relief. The weight she had carried alone for 4 long years had finally been lifted. She was no longer hiding. She was finally, completely seen. The atmosphere at Westgate University had been irrevocably altered. The graduation, once a predictable ceremony, was now the stuff of campus legend. The story of Sunny Shepard Mulder was on everyone's lips, a modern-day fairy tale of vindication. The fallout for Carla, T, and Raya was immediate and absolute. They became social pariahs, the targets of a contempt so universal it was almost palpable. They fled the ceremony in disgrace, their futures, once so bright and assured, now tainted by their own cruelty. But Sunny didn't spare them a second thought. As her father and husband stood by her side, she finally delivered her magna cum laude address. She spoke not of academic theories, but of the quiet strength found in adversity, of the importance of integrity, and of the profound truth that a person's worth is not measured by their bank account, but by their character. The speech, delivered with a quiet, unshakable grace, earned her a second, even more thunderous standing ovation. Later, in a private dining room at one of her father's most exclusive hotels, they celebrated. The victory was sweet, but the conversation soon turned to the future. Samuel Shepherd, a man not known for emotional displays, looked at his daughter, his eyes filled with a rare, unguarded tenderness. "I am so proud of you, Sonny," he said. "You have your mother's strength. It's time for you to come home. The company is yours to lead." Sonny looked at her father, then at Jason, who gave her a small, supportive nod. "Thank you, Dad," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "But I have my own plans." The revelation of her secret marriage and hidden wealth was just the first layer of the truth. Now came the second, more profound revelation of her own ambitions. The conversation that followed was not a battle, but a negotiation between two brilliant business minds. Sonny laid out her vision for a boutique resort, a sanctuary built on principles of wellness and kindness. Jason, her silent partner, chimed in with logistical details and operational strategies. Samuel listened, his initial surprise giving way to a deep, impressed respect. He had raised not just an heiress, but a leader. Yet, the old-world patriarch in him couldn't let go so easily. A resort is a fine hobby. "Sonny," he said, his tone turning serious, "but Shepherd Motors is an empire. It needs a shepherd at the helm. It is your duty." "My duty," Sonny countered, her voice calm but unwavering, "is to the life I am building with my husband and to our child." The mention of the baby softened Samuel's gaze, but the tension remained. Jason, sensing a looming conflict, stepped in. "Sir," he said respectfully, "Sonny is more than capable of doing both, but she has to do it on her own terms." It was then that Samuel Shepherd issued his final, unexpected challenge. It was a test, not of his daughter's business sense, but of her resolve. "You believe a military pilot, however decorated, is a suitable partner to help run a multi-billion-dollar legacy?" he asked, his eyes locking with Jason's. "Your worlds are different." The air grew thick with the unspoken weight of class, of expectation, of an old world clashing with a new one. Sonny was now faced with a choice that was, in its own way, as difficult as any she had faced before: to accept her father's empire on his terms, or to fight for the future she wanted on her own. The celebration was over. The real negotiation for her life had just begun. The days following graduation were a tense chess match. Samuel Shepherd, accustomed to getting his way, began a subtle but relentless campaign to pull Sonny back into his orbit. He sent her company reports, invited her to board meetings she had no interest in attending, and arranged casual lunches with potential suitors he deemed more appropriate than Jason's sons of senators, tech moguls, European aristocrats. He wasn't being cruel. In his mind, he was being a responsible father, guiding his daughter towards the life of power and influence she was born for. But Sonny, with Jason as her steadfast advisor, met his every move with a quiet, unshakable resolve. She politely declined the lunches. She returned the company reports with neatly written notes. "Fascinating. But my focus is on the resort's Q3 projections." She was not the little girl he could command. She was a formidable woman with a vision of her own. The final confrontation came not in a boardroom, but in the heart of their family, the mansion's grand library. Samuel had summoned them for a family discussion. "This has gone on long enough," he began, his voice laced with frustration. "Sonny, you are a shepherd. Your name carries weight, responsibility. Jason," he said, turning to his son-in-law, "I respect your service to this country, but your expertise is in the sky, not in the stock market. You cannot help her navigate the world she belongs in." Before Jason could respond, Sunny stood up. She walked to the large mahogany desk and placed a thick, professionally bound document in front of her father. It was a complete, meticulously detailed business plan for the Shepherd Mulder Sanctuary. It included architectural renderings, 5-year financial projections, and a revolutionary marketing strategy. "I don't need help navigating my world." "Dad," she said, her voice ringing with a confidence that surprised even herself, "I am building my own." She looked from her father to her husband. "And Jason isn't just my partner in life. He's my partner in business. His logistical expertise and leadership skills are precisely what this project needs." She then looked directly into her father's eyes, her own gaze fierce and loving. "You taught me how to build an empire. Dad, you taught me to be strong, to be strategic, to never back down." She then placed a hand on her belly. "But my mother taught me how to build a home. She taught me that love and integrity are the real foundation. I will not sacrifice one for the other. I will have both, on my own terms." There was a long, profound silence. Samuel stared at the business plan, then at his daughter, then at the quiet, capable man standing beside her. He saw not a defiant child, but a queen who had just claimed her own throne. He saw the fire of her mother in her eyes, and the unyielding loyalty of a man who would clearly follow her to the ends of the earth. Slowly, the tension in his shoulders eased. He picked up the business plan and, for the first time, a genuine, admiring smile broke across his face. "Your mother would have been so proud," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He then looked at Jason. "It seems I underestimated you, Captain." "Most people do, sir," Jason replied with a small, respectful smile. Samuel closed the business plan and stood. "Then let's build it together," he declared. As a family, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the California sky in strokes of fiery orange and soft lavender. The Shepherd Mulder Sanctuary was bathed in the warm glow of the golden hour, a testament to a dream built on love and resilience. Sunny stood on the balcony of their private villa, watching as Jason chased a giggling Leo and Mia across the perfectly manicured lawn, their small figures silhouetted against the sparkling Pacific Ocean. This was her life now, a beautiful, chaotic, and profoundly peaceful reality. Her story had become a quiet legend, a source of inspiration for many. She had received letters from students around the world, thanking her for giving them the courage to stand up to their own bullies, to own their stories without shame. The foundation she had started was now changing lives, sending dozens of working students to college, students who, like her, knew the weight of a textbook and the exhaustion of a night shift. She hadn't just built a resort, she had built a legacy of hope. Her relationship with her parents had blossomed. Her father, Samuel, now semi-retired, spent most of his time being a full-time, doting grandfather, teaching the twins how to build impossible Lego creations. Her mother, Linda, had found a new purpose in helping Sunny run the foundation. her sharp social skills now used to charm donors rather than navigate shallow social circles. Even the past had found a strange, quiet resolution. A few months ago, Sunny had received a long, rambling email. It was from Carla. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was an explanation. She wrote of the immense pressure of her upbringing, of a world where worth was measured only by wealth and status, and how Sunny's quiet defiance of that world had been something she couldn't understand, and so she had tried to destroy it. I don't expect you to forgive me, the email concluded, but I hope you understand, and for what it's worth, I'm glad you won. Sunny had never replied, but she had let go of the last remnants of her anger. Jason came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured, his voice a low, comforting rumble. "Everything," she whispered, leaning back against his strong frame, about how a girl who smelled like fried oil ended up here. He chuckled, kissing the side of her neck. That girl was always a queen. She just needed the right kingdom. "It's not a kingdom," Sunny said softly, turning in his arms to face him. "It's a home, one we built together." He looked into her eyes, the same eyes that had captivated him from a grainy video call halfway across the world, and felt the same overwhelming love. "And our reign," he said, a playful grin on his face, "has only just begun." As the first stars began to prick the darkening sky, they stood together, watching their children play. Their journey had started with secrets and lies, with pain and humiliation. But through it all, they had learned the most profound truth that true wealth isn't about the name you carry or the money in your bank account. It's about the love you fight for, the family you build, and the courage to be unapologetically, brilliantly yourself. And in that, Sunny Shepherd Mulder was the richest woman in the world. This story reminds us that our circumstances do not define our worth. It is a testament to the power of integrity, the resilience of the human spirit, and the beautiful truth that love, when it is real, can silence the loudest of critics and build a future more magnificent than any inheritance. It teaches us that true strength lies not in hiding who we are, but in having the courage to let our true selves shine, even and especially when the world tries to keep us in the shadows. I hope this story has inspired you today. Which part of Sunny's journey resonated with you the most? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, as your insights make this community so special. Another incredible story is already on its way. To make sure you don't miss it, please take a moment to subscribe and click the notification bell. If this tale of love and vindication touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need a reminder of their own strength. Thank you, as always, for watching.